I have made $200,000 selling automation services, and in this video I will explain what was one thing that allowed me to go from 10K to 30K with my AI agency. The journey began April 2023 when I launched Wimple. We had literally the same website from the very beginning besides the case studies that we have right now. When I say we, right now I have a team of 6, but at that time I was just a freelancer, so it was kind of one-person business. But the only thing from the SMMA world was how I was getting clients from the cold email. And unfortunately, at that time, I was not a big believer in freelancing platforms like Upwork for getting automation clients. So I was I was not burning money on the cold emails, so I was getting an experience. But if I would do it simultaneously with the Upwork, I know that I would close the first deal much faster. I am not new to the agency game, and it was not new. I had a pretty successful Amazon launch agency when we've been launching products on Amazon FBA. I have a huge background in e-com, which is a private label business on Amazon and other marketplaces. So I still own 2 brands we primarily sell on Amazon and Etsy. But again, unfortunately, with this agency, I did make a lot of money, but I was not getting an experience on how to properly sell the services and how to acquire clients, just because our service was that great that we never experienced any problems with acquiring new leads. The model was very simple. We've been, gaining reviews for Amazon products, and we're doing bestsellers from them within 2 to 3 months. Okay, so and businesses and brands were ready to pay a lot of money. Then Amazon changed their algorithms. The one review went from $20 to $150, so it was not really sustainable for the businesses, for the brands to use the strategy anymore. That's why it essentially died. Okay, then I have a pretty long story on how I lost $500,000 with my gambling addiction, how I was working 9 to 5. You can watch my my previous videos where I go over my experience. But then essentially I launched the Quimple. I was getting clients primarily from the cold emails just because this is the thing that I thought would work, even though I was, again, not a big believer in the strategy. But I knew that paid ads, okay, so I have an experience with paid ads and working with the media buyers from the ecom background, but I was not sure, okay, so how to run the ads for the services. That's why the only thing that it was left is cold outreach. Obviously, cold calls, which is, I think, by far right now the best way to acquire clients if you are willing to put up the work for free for the clients, to offer them prototypes and the demos. But this is for another conversation. So, but I was aware of the cold calling, but I was not comfortable with my English yet, so I decided to go with the cold emails. And again, I have more videos on the channel. You can watch them somewhere here. I've spent about 4 months, maybe 3 to 4 months to acquire my first client. I was sending, about 1,000, maybe 2,000 emails per day. I was obviously burning 1 to 1.5K a month on the cold email infrastructure, just because I had, for example, 50 to 60 emails, whatever. So the domains but the domains were one-time purchase, which was probably 25 or 20 domains. So I was buying the lead list. I was verifying the lead list through the Million Verifier every month. Yeah, so it was kind of a very, very long and painful journey. I was hopping on a lot of sales calls, but unfortunately I had a very hard time to sell. I hopped on maybe 200-300 sales calls literally within, okay, so not maybe 300, maybe 100 and 150 sales calls within this time frame. And I wasn't able to close anyone just because of my primarily pure sales skills. Then after I closed the client, after I signed a few demos, I started to kind of go all into the agency model, because at that time I still had a few 9 to 5s that I was working at remotely. So I was getting, partnerships. I was getting referrals from the clients that we started to work with. Partnerships, I was reaching out to the marketing agencies in different niches as well as to the consultants, for example, in the HR space, which are usually the one person businesses, was hopping at the call with them and was trying to pitch our services to partner up with them. I would say this is a really valid strategy, but you do need to have a brand. But at that time I didn't, but it was a very new thing still. So kind of right now people are more aware of the AI, but at that time it was still very, very new. It was kind of a harder sell on one side, but on another side I had an easier sell just because there were no competition at all. Then I was, working with the clients that I had. I was hiring a few developers and VAs just to help me out, and I finally launched what I call V2 cold email, setup, which I was running for almost half of the year, I think. So that was the setup. I was sending 2,000-3,000 emails per day, so about like 50k emails per month. Again, so take my stats with a grain of salt, just because I don't have the accounts. I was trying to find them and I'm still trying to access them, like talking with the Instantly Smart Lead support, just because I deleted the emails since they were the temporary emails for the cold email, and for some reason I registered the account there. Anyways, so I don't have kind of the exact stats, but this is from what I see from my calendar plus from what I see in front. This is the software that we use to manage all of our replies in one place. Anyways, so okay, this is the duplicate. So I was having about 2.5% reply rate, which is again very generic. I would say it's somewhere between 1 to 4%. 4 was very, very rarely. So it was primarily when I was referencing an actual case study from the industry. I didn't have that much clients at the very beginning, but once I did sign someone, I was referencing this client right away if we reach out to the same niche. So essentially I was, an average was getting 2.5% reply rate, which was, this amount of replies. The positive reply rate again was somewhere between 10 to 20%. So let's say I was getting 200 replies per month. So out of the 200, I was able to book about 150 calls, 100 will show up, and then I would close 10%. As I said at the very beginning, I would say my closing rate was like maybe 1%, maybe, because again, I have them like 150 or something calls to close one client. So you can count the actual closing rate yourself, but it was the final client that paid me, I believe, $6,500 for the chatbot implementation. So I did manage to close multiple prototypes and demos for a few $100s. So, but I was not counting that as an actual sale or the conversion. Anyways, but if we do count it here, I would say I would have like 10% closing rate again at that time. So out of the 100 calls, I was closing maybe 10 prospects. Out of the 10 prospects, all of them were demos and prototypes. Obviously, I was testing my outreach strategy, for example, in the sales call strategy. I was trying sometimes pitch the actual service without doing the prototype to show that I am valid. I know what we're doing. We have a lot of clients, which we were at that time didn't have. So I was kind of trying to fake it, but it didn't really work. So the only way how I was able to close someone is that I would kind of offer them a risk reversal, but not in terms of refunding them money if it doesn't work, because we are not directly driving sales. This is not a marketing agency. It's more like the AI save time and improve operations type of agency. That's why the only way how for me to do the risk reversal was to offer them the prototype or the demo. Anyway, so let's say if I would close 10 prototypes, I would make $2,000-3,000. And out of the, again, so this FU would buy, so 2 to 3, it's very, like, this stat is very hard. This is very hard to say like exactly, just because, for example, I literally this week closed the client which we did the prototype for, I think in the middle of summer, somewhere in August. So they come back, they have the thing, they played like with this thing, for example, internally with the team, they remember the name Eugene, which, yeah, name, for example, Quimble is very recognizable, but it's memorable. But Eugene is again very not like common name. So what I found sometimes is that when people obviously lose contacts, and we do contact them regularly. I have an email marketing sequence which contact all the prospects that were interested in our services every month, just to like make sure we're like on the same page, and if they want to continue, if they have some more thoughts. And it is still working great. But sometimes people, when they think about AI, they just type, okay, so I was talking to the Eugene, and especially when we did the prototype for them, they can just type Eugene or something in their mailbox and I'll pop up. So I was, closing to like 10 maybe prototypes per month, and was able to close 2 to 3 actual clients. Each of the solution was somewhere between, sometimes it was 2K, but usually it was somewhere between $4,000 to $8,000, and this is how I went to $10,000 in a month. A few disclaimers: this is not a monthly retainer, so my agency model is relied right now still on the one-time payments. So this is not something that your gurus are teaching you, and maybe you have an understanding that this is not something that you would want just because you can rely on the retainers. And in this case, when you are relying on the one-time payments, you actually need a proper acquisition channel, and this is true. And I think that was my mistake. And right now, inside 99 Players, my bootcamp, I am teaching people that there are a lot of different models, and I don't think that you need to start with the model that I was having. Essentially, it was like a big one-time payment, which is for $8,000, and then I was also charging them retainers. So retainers were small. It was like maybe $600 per month, and most of the businesses were not agreed to pay the money, just because again they were like paying the one-time payment. So right now, I think this is not the best way, especially on like how the market goes. It's either you're charging the one-time payment, which might be big or small, and then you're providing the actual solution to the client, and then the client managed everything himself on like their infrastructure and accounts, or you don't charge anything up front, and then you do the small retainers, which is eventually a productized service. And this is where I think I am going into. It's just harder for me because of the content and because of the types of like different companies that reach out to me. Anyways, so that was kind of the way how I went to my first $15,000 per month. Again, it was not a retainer, so sometimes it was like $6,000, sometimes it was like 10 or 12. So it was kind of fluctuating here and there, but that was where I were at. Okay. Then in May 2024, I started to post content. And this is, for some of you, unfortunate, for some of you, fortunate, that the news that content does matter. Unfortunate, just because some of you don't want to post content. But these 4 channels, this is what allowed me to scale to 30K, and eventually I would be able to scale to 50K a month. I don't think that I'll go over that, just with, again, the types of services I offer right now, because I don't want to create a bigger team that I do right now, just because, again, I have multiple businesses to manage. So right now I have 4,300 subscribers on the YouTube, so about 3,000 on LinkedIn. X, unfortunately, was blocked a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago, and I'm still trying to recover, just because my post got viral, a lot of comments, I was sending a lot of DMs, so it was kind of a very confusing and unfortunate thing. I went from 0 to like 1K subs, which is like 1K on LinkedIn organically is really good in, again, like 4 or 6 months. And the best source of leads for me is my newsletter. So this is the Beehive, and I have a few strategies how I was getting, as you can see here, from the July. So I didn't start to collect emails from the very beginning. So it was the July. but it was a very like parabolic curve, I would say, in growth. And I did have and do have multiple strategies on how I acquire leads and the prospects interested in what I do into the newsletter. Obviously, you need to understand, I'm not trying to fake it, that most of these people, like most of them, maybe 90%, are the actual people, maybe like you, that want to sell AI services, either start an agency or add AI into your offerings. But some of them, and you are the clients for my third business, which is 99 Players, which is the bootcamp where I have helped people to, sign their first automation clients. But there are, 10 to 15% of the actual business owners that are looking for something. That's why I was able to close a lot of the especially high ticket clients from the newsletter. Anyways, so this is kind of the answer to the question, what allowed me to scale past this point. And I think October 2023, 2024 was the best month for us in terms of the revenue. We closed, I think, $32,000. It was not a cash collected, it was just the deals closed. And in one of the previous videos, I also explain and go over the actual clients that we signed. So, and we launched the V3, obviously not after October. So after I started the content, it wasn't exactly 90 days that I mentioned in the title. It was longer. So it's like about more than 6 months right now. But the first month were kind of, fluctuating. So I would say the summer 2024 was, one of the most interesting times for me, just because I started literally to post content as a content creator primarily, and not as an agency owner. And at the same time, I was running my agency. So once I started getting the traction, I was having like maybe 100 to 200 subs. I changed my email strategy completely. And this is what I call like V3 launch of the cold outreach campaigns in my journey. And here I was obviously doing the personalization, and we were doing personalization from, again, I didn't have anyone, so right now I do. I was doing the personalization from the day one. With the V2, I was like very, very specific with it. I think I have a lot of unique things that I do in terms of the cold outreach, and this is why I was probably able to get this type of the reply rates in the niche. Again, for the people that do the cold outreach in other niches, it might seem like a bad reply rate just because, they may have like 5, 6, 7, 8% reply rates. But in reality, the AI niche is different. I don't care what anyone says. If they, tell you that they get the reply rate in the AI niche, which is about 3%, I would say they are either bullshitting or they have a very specific lead list, which was pre-targeted with the interest. So this would be probably the businesses that are kind of looking for and aware of the solutions, because here you are literally selling to the businesses that have no idea that A, you exist, and B, that they actually need the AI. This is the main problem with the AI niche, because if you are, for example, cold reaching out with your marketing services, obviously it's very hard to do just because of the competition, but you can make, you technically understand that all the businesses need marketing services, right? So, and if you're reaching out to the local businesses, probably 90% of them need the Facebook marketing or something like that, or the email marketing. With the AI, it's a bit different. You can technically say that each and every business needs it, but in reality, no, they can use it. Like each business can use it, but it's just on the return on investment. For example, if you're building a simple like chatbot or a setter, and they receive like a few leads per, or like 10 prospects, even 10 prospects a day on the website. 10 prospects, like 10 visitors, not the prospects. 10 prospects is okay. There's nothing to capture, right? So there's nothing to qualify, and it will not like help the business a lot. So even if you will charge like 2K for it, it's not going to be worth the investment. Okay, that's why you can say, yeah, there is automations, there is like voice hacklers. Yes, what I'm saying is that it's still very different from what you used to with your, if you own your marketing agency or even like software development, which I do work with a lot of people inside 99 players which do have the software developments, and they are expanding their offerings into the AI niche. So besides the personalization, the only thing that was like essentially changed was that I was referencing content. I was not only referencing my case studies that I already have, I'm also and still referencing my content. For example, I posted one video on the YouTube where I go over like a case study for a software company where we've been building them the AI marketing agent for the, the pipeline management, essentially to convert more people into the webinars. So this video made me a lot of money. I cannot exactly tell you how much, just because there are a lot of like factors that involve into this. And I think from the video, I only got maybe three people interested and like booked the call in my calendar. But the most amount of leads that I got was from the cold outreach, when I was reaching out to the software companies, personalizing the first line, saying exactly what we can do and what I was showing in the video, and was referencing, say, hey, by the way, here's the video of the case study on my YouTube. PS, I have a 4K subs. So it was kind of a flex, and this is not what I like usually do, PS 4K subs, but in real, like honestly, it was working. I'm like testing a lot of different things, but when I was saying that I have the YouTube, even having the YouTube in your body was changing a lot of things. Same thing with LinkedIn. You can technically, while you're sending the cold email, send a request on LinkedIn. This will not be able to do it like at scale with like thousands of emails, but this will improve your reach and reply rate dramatically if you would do it. For example, there are softwares that allow you to do it simultaneously, send a cold email as well as send the LinkedIn request. So there are a lot of different strategies. And by the way, I do teach everything inside 99 players. So we have a step-by-step course. Besides having, the direct coaching access to me, you have the 12 weeks program bootcamp where I explain everything. And we have a separate module for the cold outreach where I explain all the strategies. So, and this is what allowed me to improve primarily this metric. Yes, the actual reply rate improved a lot, but the actual difference was in the closing rate. And not direct correlation for the posting the content is the fact that I was improving my English. So right now, I'm still not satisfied with the way I speak, just because I have so many things to say, and sometimes I say the wrong things just because I don't have the right vocabulary. Okay, I have no vocabulary. Jesus. Okay, yeah. So sometimes I struggle with it, but I was like recording videos first like 60 days. I think it was like one video per day, and that was my commitment. Right now it's 2-3 videos per week. So it allowed me to scale up my English as well as to put my face out there. So when I was starting posting content, even before like having a lot of the case studies that I already had from the previous outreach and from the previous clients, I was just saying, hey, I published this video on the YouTube. PS, by the way, so we like exactly, I go over in this video, like this is like here, you can watch it. And obviously the actual reply rate was good, but the booking rate was not that great, just because they were going into the video and they didn't have a lot of time. So they was thinking, okay, I'll go over the video in like a week and then whatever, or when I have time. So this is where the actual like follow-up sequences and reminders, and if you have the phone number of the client SMS campaigns, matter just because you're not spamming them. You're just reminding to them like to watch the video, or if they watched it, to give you at least the feedback, even if they are not interested. Again, there are a lot of kind of different strategies that you can use, but it allowed me to, increase my closing rate to, I would say right now, like 20%. And maybe from the, if we say from 10 to 20, I would say maybe, I got 2 more. So it's like, if it's 10 closes right now, I have like 20. And I would say I have like 2 more just because of my English, probably just because I can like express everything that I want easily. But the rest, like 8, was just because of the content and because of the pre-qualification sequences and nurturing sequences, that after people were like replying to my messages into the emails, I was sending them my videos that are related to them, just to make sure that they kind of know me a bit better. But obviously, the most important thing for the content, and it started recently, so that's why I'm not saying that what allowed me to scale to this point is purely the content, because I received the leads from the content, just because I was not receiving that much leads when I started out, but I still was able to get better results than without it, just because, again, I was referencing some of the videos and I was putting my face out there. But right now, I would say I have about 50% of the clients, not prospects. We like receive a lot of prospects, much more prospects from cold outreach, which is V3, than my YouTube. But in terms of the clients, no. So since like the prospects are not that qualified, so 50% of the clients right now come from my cold outreach. I would say maybe 30 come from my content, and about like 20 are referrals and partnerships that I was establishing here actively through, again, cold outreach. But right now people reach out to me and saying, hey Eugene, so I have the connections in this industry and let's partner up, something like that. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. If you don't, join the bootcamp so that you can scale your AI agency. Peace.